Hi, welcome everybody back to my 32 fan series where we are talking to one fan from every single NFL team. And I wanted to welcome you all in. So I will let you both introduce yourself, but first I want to say a couple of things. If this is the first episode that you're listening to, there are other episodes. There's 31 either before or after or at some point. So there's that. And then the other thing is this is our first conversation. And anytime I have first conversation with anyone, I like to tell people because we need to talk to people more often than we do. So I wanted to announce that. And then last thing I'll say, and then I'll let you both introduce yourself, is all of your information will be in the description. So any information you want me to add will be there so people can easily get to you, click the links, get whatever they want. They can find you very easily. I'll also add you as a collaborator. So having said all of that, I would love for you to introduce yourself. I guess I need to do a good job at calling on you so that we can keep a little organized here. So I'll let you go, Pete. And then, we'll just start with you, Pete, and then I'll try to go back and forth, but don't hold me to that.
Works for me. Thank you for having us. My name's Pete Collins. Like you had said, I'm one of the two hosts. Division will introduce himself next of the Foxboro Fellows Podcast. We're part of Boston Sports Zone, and we cover exactly that, the New England Patriots. So we're looking forward to this conversation here today. Division.
Oh yeah, so I'm Division Sachdeva. I'm a co-host of the Foxboro Fellows Podcast as well. Doing that show for. Pete started that about 6 months before me, so I think we are total as a show running for 3.5 years. I've been a part just slightly over 3 years now. I think It was March 2024.
You came in at like episode 16. We're on like
it was like
70 something. You've been here since
we definitely have been since I've joined. We've been pumping out content, but love the Pats. Been a Pats fan since I was 8. So yeah,
nice.
Excited to have this conversation today.
Since 8? How long have you been a fan, Pete?
Probably since age 8 too. We're just different ages ourselves, so we just came into the timeline at different times. But right around like the end of Bledsoe, right at the beginning of Brady. Brady came in around age 11 for me, so I saw a couple of years of the Bledsoe years.
Yeah,
what a great time to become a New England Patriots.
Yeah,
just Boston sports in general. Amazing.
Oh yeah,
that's true. I mean, that's true.
Yeah, to me it was like I became a Patriots fan for Tom Brady, and my first year being a fan was the Tom Brady ACL year. So I was like, and it was like also like I'm also an Arsenal fan, and they just won the Premier League for the first time in my life. So it's just been one of those things. Like I thought I was just cursed as a sports fan because I was like, I can ruin what's looking like the best career trajectory anyone has ever had by just liking the guy. I felt like I was bad karma, but at least we've turned it around.
I love that. So how is it being a Pats fan right now? Like, obviously you go to the Super Bowl and it didn't work the way that you were hoping it would work, but how is it being a Pats fan? Like, I'll tell you my opinion and then you all let me know what you think. I feel like the Pats almost like excelled too early. They were almost like way ahead of like schedule in my personal opinion, but I would love to know what you all think. You're Patriots fans. You're living it, breathing it, eating it, all those different things. But I would love to know how you're feeling right now being a Patriots fan, minus all the headlines. We're not talking about any headlines, okay? We're talking about football this episode. That is what we're going to focus on. So let me just get that out of the way. So yeah, how are you all feeling right now being Patriots fans?
They definitely overachieved. And I mean, if you ask Division, we have to say they overachieved. Our predictions for the team was around 9 wins. They obviously won 14, made it to the Super Bowl. We didn't know if they would even make it to the playoffs. So everyone outside of the building says they overachieved. If you ask anyone inside the building, they all say, no, this is what we planned on doing. We're trying to win championships here in New England. And that's what it feels like to be a Patriots fan. It feels like a team always trying to win championships, and it's nice to be a part of something like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I would say, I think we are ahead of schedule in the best way possible. Like, because, there's also a lot of cases around the NFL where teams get ahead of schedule in a bad way. That I feel like that Commanders team is a very good example for that. Like, you see they were ahead of schedule, and you see Jaden Daniels perform at an incredibly high level. And then you look at that and you're like, oh, that was the oldest roster in the NFL that season in average age. I think the average age was like almost 30. It was just under, I think it was 29 point something. And I feel like with the Patriots, feels like the exact opposite, that our two best players are still on rookie contracts. like I would say one of our best defensive players in Christian Barmore is one of, if not the most team-friendly defensive tackle contract in the NFL. And then the players that we've gone out and shelled out a lot of money for, Milton Williams, Carlton Davis, are performing at the level which, like it is come together in a very good way. Like we're ahead of schedule in a way that like the players that we hope would develop are developing at a trajectory that's higher than what a lot of us expected. And then while we could bank on their rookie contracts, the players we went out and shelled out money for are also at par or above market with what their contract is. So I think that is kind of working out really well. Like obviously like NFL kind of stands for not for long. So like we will see like how much of this is sustainable, how much of this roster building or just player performances in general are sustainable. But based off the sample size we've seen in the past, it feels very sustainable.
Okay, I love that. So let's pivot to the draft a little bit. How did you all like the draft? What was one word you'd use to describe the draft, Pete?
Functional. That's the word I would use to describe the draft. And I wouldn't want the Patriots to take that, or any Patriots fans to take that as an insult. Like functional is good.
I like
functional.
it,
yeah, it's not a win the internet draft. And I put air quotes around that for anybody listening. Like you're not going to be like, oh, wow, they drafted this flashy wide receiver or this flashy player, right? We drafted a tackle at 28, right? Like traded up for a tackle, not exactly the sexiest move, but it addressed the needs of the team. Offensive tackle, edge, tight end. Those are the positions that we needed. We dipped into the defensive back pool. We double dipped at offensive line and edge, maybe at edge. We don't know if our 7th round edge player is actually going to make the team, given his off the field issues, but and injury issues to add on to that. But yeah, I think this is a team that's giving his young QB a chance to be competitive with the offseason additions going back to free agency prior to the draft. So yeah, functional has been the word I would describe as the draft, and you could apply it to just the offseason in general. It's just been a functional offseason. That's my one word.
Okay, that's a good. I like that word. That word is very functional too. I like it.
I was just gonna say it's been, from a roster building standpoint, it's been a functional offseason.
Yeah,
there has been some dysfunction this offseason.
We're sticking to football here.
It's just like, yeah. Okay. I will be honest here. Let's just do it one time. One question. How does it feel going through all of this right now? Because it's kind of like the season ends, you lose the Super Bowl. That's not great. You're kind of like, okay, but we're close. We know what we're doing. We have our quarterback. We know what we need to fix. We know what we need to do. We're getting things moving. And then this, whatever you want to call it, air bubble or whatever's in the atmosphere. Can you feel it as a fan? Or is it just like, I'm focused on the players, I'm focused on OTAs? Like, how is it being a fan of the team where there is so much noise? Let's talk about it that way so that we don't actually have to talk about it.
Yeah. It's just like the track record of teams that come off a Super Bowl loss is terrible, right? We knew that going into the offseason. Teams that, there are teams that have lost a Super Bowl the year before, or essentially it's a 50-50 chance based off the last 15 years last 16 years, if you were even going to make it to the playoffs next year. And I think that was a daunting enough feeling going into the offseason, knowing that your team overachieved. And to me, it just feels like this is the last thing that we needed. And obviously, I think the roster building, from a roster standpoint, I don't have a lot of huge criticisms of this offseason. But the thing is, when a coach is so dependent on like this culture-oriented, organizational system, and the first time there's going to be some type of adversity this team faces in the season, this will be one of the first things that will be brought up, and this will be one of the first things that will be pinpointed, and this will be one of the first things that Mike Vrabel's questioned about. So I think that is just not a good feeling. That last season we started the season 1-2. Again, we lost to the worst team in the NFL in the Raiders week 1. We lost to a Pittsburgh Steelers team that we made NFL history in that game. That always bring up this Bill Barnwell stat for that game, but there had never been an NFL game where a team fumbled the ball 5 times and lost all 5, and the other team fumbled the ball 2 times and recovered both. That's literally never happened in the NFL. And we lost 2 out of our first 3 games in that fashion. And bouncing back from that and finishing the season 14-1 was incredible. And then going all the way to the Super Bowl was just absolutely incredible.
If you like this video, now is a perfect time to take a second and hit that like button and leave us a comment in the comment section below.
It just really feels like there was an underdog mentality then when we were 1-2. If we start this season 1-2, instead of an underdog mentality, there'll be a frauds mentality when it comes to, both, hopefully not inside the building, but definitely outside the building. And I feel like this is just not something that's super helpful to that cause.
It's just in the way. Yeah. What do you think, Pete?
Yeah, you asked us how we felt, and I think it's going to be a football answer from me, because I just, it's, what Vrabel did is bad, harmful to his family, not a good thing to do. Everyone knows that, but like, this is like football, right? And like, does this threaten his job status? No, it doesn't threaten his job status like at all. So, all right, back to football is kind of the Patriots. I think fans, like, if you guys want to talk about it in your spare time, go ahead. We have other things to talk about, like how thin the linebacker room is. Like we have like football to talk about, stuff to discuss. If you want to sit at the children's table and talk about children's things, go ahead. We have, adult conversations to be had. But speaking of adult conversations, like when one of his players messes up, how is he going to have that adult conversation? How does he sit down a player and mentor them when that player is looking at him like, this guy's talking to me about accountability? Who are you, dude? What did you say to your wife? There's there's going to be some issues around that. And that's what I think I would rather talk about is like, how does he navigate those conversations? Is he the disciplinary this year? Or does he have to, is Terrell Williams kind of have to do that this year for him? Cause like, it's weird if he has those conversations. Like, does it change his way that he coaches? Does it change his bravado? There's been rumors around that he doesn't walk around with that chest out kind of, trash talking mentality.
He needs that. Yeah. That's
his MO. And I think that's what that is one of those things that he is just, it's an innate quality. And it's just one thing that it's who he is. And he's actually really, really good at it. And I think that is what a lot of players like these, there's this constant like battle between like, once you've been paid, how do you stay motivated? Right. Like when that $25 million signing bonus is hit, what are you doing now? What is there to work for? And I think Mike Vrabel is great. And he's been great at getting the most out of players on their second contracts that going back to Tennessee. And I think that changes here, I won't say that changes here. I would say that could change here, which is a scary feeling.
Depending. Yeah. And from the outside looking in, I like that we could talk about all of the stuff outside of the field. Like we could do that, but we're not. I also feel like that is where it's going to show up, is not when things are going great, is as soon as things go bad, or as soon as training camp gets too long, or it's too hot, or, whatever it is, right? So-and-so's rolled his ankle, but is he really hurt? Or is he like all of those like nuances now where it's like, I need my leader to stand up for something and I need to trust that you really believe that. So I agree with that. So listen, we did our part. We had our moment. Now we're moving on. So now that we talked about that, thank you both for engaging in that. So who do you think, who's a day 2, day 3 pick that you feel like is going to end up being a steal as you kind of look at this roster, as you think about some things that you're really hoping is going to be the guy, or maybe not the guy, but just somebody that you're like, you know what? I knew when we picked him, that was the right pick. Who would that be for you? It's David. Say it.
David.
Okay. Yeah. Keep correcting me, by the way.
Oh yeah, of course. But I would say this has been a guy like we were talking about this earlier on in the draft process when we knew that we didn't know like what trades were going to look like. We're at pick 31, and I said we could honestly just trade like even 5. Like if Ty Simpson's falling and one of these QB hungry teams is wanting to move up in the late first, I would be so happy if we just like trade back like 5 to 7 spots and just get Gabe Yakus there. And it ended up being the exact opposite way, that we traded up from our 63rd overall pick to like in the mid 50s to get Gabe Yakus. But he is just like, there's so many things that are just, like day one coaching points is how I like to look at them. And you don't have to have any of those discussions with him. Those things are already there. Like the guy coming from a Brett Bielema team, like being coached by Brett Bielema, who Patriot fans are very familiar with. there's that level of trust there. You know that effort's not going to be an issue. You know toughness is not going to be an issue. You know motor is not going to be an issue in a lot of these plays. You know that foundationally most of the technique stuff is there. It feels like that is, and pass rush is a huge need for the Patriots on top of that. You know that there's a way for this guy to be deployed as early as week 1 in some type of, pass rush, like more of like a designated pass rush style role. And then he has everything that you want from, a top 50, but not a first round pick or top 60 in this case, would just like the things that you would want to see from a player that you feel confident about, that this guy will earn a second contract with this team. And I think he just feels like, I know it's just our second round pick. Calling a second round pick is, especially when you traded up for the guy, it does not quite feel like a steal. But with how I saw him coming out of college, I would say that he feels like a steal.
Okay. What do you think, Pete?
Yeah, I also had Gabe Yakas written down. But the reason is he's a variable guy. Like he's a violent man. And that's exactly who Vrabel wants on his defense. And he has a realistic path to actually playing this year too, which helps him be a steal, right? Like if you get actual year 1 performance out of him, that helps. But since Divish and I think alike, we often come up with the same answers. I'll give you a different answer than Gabe Yakas. Okay. Jam Miller.
Yeah.
7th round running backs are lottery picks. I'll say that. But this guy's good. And he has a real path to the roster too. It sort of fits the same take I just gave you. We have 2 running backs, Stevenson and Henderson, locks for the roster. 3rd running back's wide open, right? So Jam Miller definitely sees his path to the roster. He's a late round draft pick, like I mentioned. He could make the team because he can also play special teams too. It's not like he's just a dedicated running back. So he actually has that path to the roster. So maybe it's not year 1. Maybe it's more year 2 and year 3. You see a little bit more of the Jam Miller effect. But yeah, I think he would be the other player that I would highlight outside of Yakas in this draft.
Yep. And then to add to that, the steal factor of that, to add to Jam Miller's case, will be that Ramondre Stevenson, he's under contract for 2027, but 2027, he has no guarantees built in. So it's essentially just like, I think, a $2 to $3 million dead cap hit. And the Patriots have an easy out there, potentially, even though I'm a huge Ramondre Stevenson guy. Mm-hmm. The other thing there is too, is like when you have this like special teams core built or core skill set built, and you are the running back 3 on the roster, you just need a couple rotational snaps in your rookie season to just kind of get a feel for that game. That's all you need your first year. And I think he has a path to just get that, because nobody's expecting a 7th round pick to, be a 1,000-yard rusher as a rookie.
No.
But we just
want
him.
And if he is?
Oh, if he is, then that is like that. Then the steal prediction is the best prediction ever. But all I'm hoping for is like, can Jam Miller earn himself a backup running back role by the time he's due for an extension? And there's a path to that, right? And as long as that is a path for it, for a 7th round pick, that will be a steal.
Yeah. So you both kind of said who you thought was going to be the biggest immediate impact in your 2nd round pick. So I'll ask, is there a player that you all passed on multiple times or throughout the draft that you like before the draft, both of you were like, man, if we could get him, and then he just happened to be there, that you think might come back and haunt you? Or who would that player be where you're just like, man, if only?
Kyle Lewis.
Yeah.
Kyle Lewis, linebacker out of Pitt, drafted by Miami, I think. So going into round 4, day 3, we didn't have a pick in round 4, and our pick in round 5 was at the tail end. So I'm sitting there watching the draft as a Patriots fan going, they're going to move up probably in a maybe in a significant way, as significant you can at that point in the draft, considering what capital they have and what it would cost, right? They're not going to go up 80 picks or something ridiculous like that, right? So, but I thought they would go up at some point. And Kyle Lewis is kind of hanging out there on day 3. And I thought at some point they were going to do that because they do need a linebacker. This linebacker room is really thin. After Spillane and Christian Ellis, it gets really thin. So I thought Kyle Lewis would be a player that they could have moved up and went and got. But Divish will probably give you a far superior answer, being the college football nerd that he is.
Yeah, I love that. Go for it, Divish. Who is your guy?
I mean, Kyle Lewis was one of my guys going into the draft for sure. I had a very high grade on him. I had a top 100 grade on him. So yeah, I mean, it was Kind of weird that he fell that far too. That is like one of those things, like there was probably some type of information that only the teams are privy to, whether that's medical history, whether that's something behind the scenes that made him fall. Because from purely like as a fan, you can only watch film to a certain degree to be like the judge of players. It's only what's on the field that you could judge. So that, but like from an on the field product, Kyle Lewis definitely feels like a miss. The other guy, which is more so like what the Patriots needed and what they kind of passed on, was Bobby Jamison-Travis out of Auburn, defensive tackle.
Interesting. Okay.
You went to Giants, and to me, it was more so that like, for a team that is known for their two spearheaded heads at defensive tackle in Milton Williams and Barmore, we love running 3 defensive tackles fronts.
Yeah.
And we lost our guy Kyrie Stonga in free agency, and there's just been this like implicit suggestion since then that Corey Durden, who was an undrafted, or he was a waiver wire pick last year, is just going to take that step forward. It's just kind of has been that implicit suggestion, which to me is like, obviously Durden had some good snaps last year, so you hope the guy develops into that. But pushing all your eggs in that one basket was not just something that I was completely comfortable with. And between nose tackle versus your cornerback 5, to me, it felt like nose tackle was a bigger need. So that's why I would probably say Bobby Jamison-Travis, who, again, going into Giants are projecting him as this like after rookie camp, there were like Giants beat writers saying that like Dexter Lawrence, who, and I'm like, okay, you don't have to like, it felt like they were rubbing it in. Yeah. But yeah, I'm like, okay, maybe not that far, but I think he could have been a productive player early on in his career.
Okay. So let's talk about the team a little bit. Now, we know what happened last year. We know kind of where everything is as of today. What would success look like for you, Divish? Are you thinking like we have to go back to the Super Bowl? Or are you kind of like, I'm not really sure what success is going to look like. You need to kind of see what it looks like.
So to me, success, I hate putting like, a certain win number or a certain like barrier in the playoffs, like these many playoff wins or this playoff round. I think I have drawn up success for this season into 3 essential spots here. Obviously, like I think Drake May took a massive step forward and the offense was building, like Josh McDaniels was getting into his groove. But the first step for me is, can the offense get more diverse? Because a lot of our run scheme was like, we were so dependent on running gap scheme just because that's what our players fit. Not so because that's exactly what was the best play to call in certain situations or against certain fronts. So one is just, can the offense get more diverse? Can we actually expand the playbook in a way that we can adjust more on offense within games? I do think they have built this running, or at least tried to build the trenches that way. We get a good blocking tight end in free agency. We go get a designated fullback in free agency. I think the steps are there for that, but that would be the first thing for me. The second thing, I think this is just like, I think more than half the NFL fan bases you would interview in this process would say this, just better pass rush. You need to improve on pass rush in the NFL
except for now. The Titans, or the Texans.
Oh yeah, the Texans,
they're the ones.
Like, and it's also just like, on top of that, they have this like stud defensive head coach, like D'Amico, just like makes the best adjustments at the. It's just like a little annoying.
Yeah, it's gross.
But I would say just like being able to get pressures of the edges, because we were getting a lot of pressure in the playoffs, but a lot of that was designed to come up from the middle, and a lot of it was designed quick pressure.
Yeah. Okay.
So I want those to be in positions where those pressures are actually turning into negative plays. Because we saw in the playoffs that those pressures only really turned into negative plays against the Texans, because CJ Stroud had a turnover issue in that game. But we weren't really forcing the opponent to stay behind the chains for long enough. So that would be my second thing there. And then the last thing would just be, I need to see some development from these younger skill players. Whoever that might be. If Travion is taking that next huge step forward and progressing to like a top 12 running back in the league, I'll either want to see that. If Kyle Williams is, if everything about Kyle Williams, like putting on this extra weight, like having a true dedicated NFL offseason is true, I would want to see him, like like he had 200 yards and I think 3 touchdowns last year. Can he get closer to that 500-yard number? And then you're looking like at the end of year 3, oh, this guy is like a no-brainer extension, right? Can Kyle Williams take that step in the right direction there? Similar on the defensive side, Craig Woodson had a very impressive rookie campaign, but can he propel himself into, that like upper echelon of like top 20 safeties in the league? Not just like, oh, he's a plus, like can he develop from a starter to a plus starter? So that is like what I'm saying. So younger player development, pass rush improvement, and offensive playbook expansion will be the 3 metrics I judge the season success on.
Perfect. Pete, what do you have? Give me your 3. No, I'm just kidding. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking, so I predicted the Patriots to get 11 wins this year. So if they did that, I would say, well, they met my expectations. So therefore success. Like that's the easiest way we can summarize success, in my opinion. But then that means making it to a playoff. Once you're in the playoff, you need to win a game. And once you're in the playoffs and after you win a game, if you're going to lose a game, it needs to be a hard fought game that both sides of the ball participate in. Because what we saw last year out of the Patriots was only one side of the ball really participate in those playoff games. And that's what dragged them throughout the playoffs is one side of the ball. But how they got to the playoffs was, frankly, one side of the ball sort of dragging that other side of the ball to the playoffs, right? So what I want to see this year is a little bit more parity. Like, let's not drag each other. Let's pick each other up. Let's look at it from let's have a paradigm shift here when it comes to this team. Like, oh, the offense had a couple 3-and-outs. Defense, turn the ball over. Right? Defense, hey, you just let up a score. Let's go back and answer on offense then. Like, let's have some parity amongst this team. Let's look more complete as a team. Because I don't think we're going to have more wins or we're going to have more success than last year, right? So there needs to be a different measuring stick of success. This team will be a better team, in my opinion, than last year, but it won't reflect that in the score the schedule, the final outcome, wins, losses, right? Like we'll have, I think 11 wins, 3 less wins, maybe 1 playoff win, which is inferior to last year, but that might make me feel better than last year. I might be looking at this team going like, wow, that team looked way better. I'm really looking forward to the next year of Drake May and the next year of third year of this coaching staff being put through, like a second off, a full off seat. I'm really looking forward to the future, I think here, and not so much like 2026 should be exciting football season for the New England Patriots. We're a legitimate team. We shouldn't be in the playoffs, right? But the expectations, I think, can't be where we ended up last year.
For sure.
That's respectful. I appreciate that. Which position group worries you the most right now, Pete, that you are kind of looking at this team and you're like, man, everything looks good, but this area, we really need to do something here to make this look a little better?
It's the front 7, and then I'm honing in specifically on the linebacker and the edge depth. Not so much. I mean, who did I eliminate there? The defensive tackles, because I'm very confident in the defensive tackle group. Although I will say, to Divish's point, there's a nose tackle issue on this team, right? So they're not completely void of defensive tackle issues. So, with that being ranking 3rd, linebackers ranking 1st, and the edge ranking 2nd, though, boom, boom, boom. Those are your issues there with the front 7. So wide receiver is always going to be an issue, but I think we might have a solution to that in like a few weeks on June 1st around 4:01 p.m. I think we have our incoming solution to wide receiver. So wide receiver, passing options for Drake May, check. Running back room, check. Run blocking improvement, check. O-line improvement, check. Defensive back group, top 3 in the NFL. So where are we weak? Front 7. It's not just like the drop off amongst all those spots. I feel like you have, you're kind of very good, and then you get to the front 7, you're like, oh, you're not as good there. Like I think that needs to still make a player still might need to come in and add to that linebacker room for it to be complete. But Draymond Jones and Harold Landry holding down the edge. You wonder if they're going to get enough pass rush. You wonder if Landry's going to be healthy enough. I think there's lots of worries outside of Christian Barmore and Milton Williams and Spillane.
And Spillane. Shout out to Spillane.
Yeah.
Divish, what you got for me?
Yeah,
where do you think? Go ahead.
I completely agree with linebacker here as well. And I think I love Robert Spillane. He's such a high motor player, but with the high motor sideline to sideline linebackers, he's like our only true guy who can play sideline to sideline. And he's going in his age 31 season. So it's not like the best position to be in. Obviously we drafted a guy in the 6th round, Nnamdi Obiazor out of TCU, and you hope he develops into that sideline to sideline piece, but he is more so, kind of like your weak side downhill linebacker. So to me, it feels like the Patriots are still not done at the the linebacker room would not be the same that goes into training camp as it's structured today. So I think there will be another. I think there will be another free agency pickup of some type of like low market veteran free agent to bring in on like a 1 year $4 to $5 million contract. That will be like your designated linebacker 3. Gives Obiasor a little more time to develop, but you still need a little bit of like for a 6th round rookie development trajectory. You need him to be really on it, even in that case, which is not the best position to be in, because rookies go through their lumps. It's like thinking about it kind of this way, even with the NIL stuff, it is really like their first real job. Like I was like an idiot when I first got out of college, like working a job, right? So there's stuff like that there's that maturity aspect to it as well about being a professional. So while they're navigating all of that, you don't want to put too many eggs in their basket. So I hope that there's that free agency move. But yeah, linebacker would probably give me the most if.
Okay, fair. Where do you think this team has improved the most from last season, Divish?
I mean, I think again, this is pending that all air traffic from Philadelphia to either Providence,
June
Rhode
1st
Island, or Boston is working early June. If all air traffic is working and all communication lines between Foxboro and Philadelphia are okay, then I would say it's wide receiver, right? Because you're obviously, like I was talking earlier, that the team is very high on Kyle Williams taking that second-year step forward. You essentially get a Stephon Diggs replacement at a fairly reasonable contract with how free agency generally goes for wide receivers in Romeo Doubs, who to me is like an incredibly underrated player. And I feel like that sometimes when you get a free agent that truly hit free agency, not just like a lower market free agent, I love to see how the fans that lost that player react to it, like to kind of see like what the mindset is there,
how they feel.
And every Packers fans reaction was, we need bucket. I feel like Romeo Doubs can really step into that role. And then finally, like I feel like this is the first time in Drake May's career where he's going to have that prototypical X alpha on the perimeter in AJ Brown, which I think is super exciting. So I would go wide receiver.
Okay. What about you, Pete?
So it's May 22nd, so I'll answer it. It's May 22nd. The safety play improved. The offensive line improved.
Okay.
But my answer is the overall run blocking ecosystem. That is what has been most approved about this New England Patriots team. And I think will have the biggest effect on this team. There's no bigger improvement overall, like no bigger leap any one segment of this team will take, I don't think, than the run blocking ecosystem. And why I say ecosystem is now we have Reggie Gillum, actual top tier fullback leading the way. That's going to be a stark improvement that we actually put attention and use that position since we've dedicated such a player and asset. Add on Hill, the tight end, the blocking tight end we added. Last year we had Hooper as our second tight end. Not a good run blocking tight end, right? So we improve at the.
Uh-oh. Did he freeze on your end?
I think we might have lost Pete for a second.
Okay. He'll be back. Yeah. I believe in him.
Yeah.
there he is.
I'm back.
Yeah,
Where did I started getting a spinny wheel, so I knew that I lost you at some point. Where'd you lose me? I can go back into.
You were talking about your new tight end.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Hill. Hill. So when you combine a fullback, when you combine it with Hill, and you combine Trevion Henderson having a full offseason now that he's no longer a rookie, Stevenson had the loss of his father, the loss of his best friend, and some just pure emotional beginning to his season. Then the fumbles hit, and he was kind of crying on the sidelines, because it was too much. It was a lot going on last year for the running back room, and then the offensive line as in general just has improved. We've moved Wilson from left guard to center back to his natural position. Elijah Vera Tucker's an upgrade at left guard. Wilson's obviously upgraded the center position. Will Campbell has his second year to build on. Morgan Moses and Onwenu on the right side are one of the best right sides of an offensive line that you can possibly ask for, really. So I think this offensive line's improved. The fullback position has improved, and the tight end position has improved from a run blocking standpoint. I think that that will help complement and help Drake May continue to progress, knowing it's not all on his shoulders like you saw in the playoffs where it was either him running the ball or him passing the ball more often than not.
Yeah, that's not the recipe for success right now for him. Like that's
need more parity.
Yeah. Let's help him out a little bit. So, okay, what will this team do better than most teams in the NFL this year, Pete?
It's what they did better than most teams last year, preparation, coaching. But this year they have continuity. And then lastly, I'll say quarterback play. We have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. We have one of the best coaches in the league. We're coming off a year where our coach won coach of the year and our offensive coordinator won assistant coach of the year. Like, everyone just kind of clear out of the way and give all the Patriots coach all the awards. And then there's people, if they had more awards to give coaches, we might have had more awards. And if they gave awards to executives, you might have had awards for executives on our team too. So, like, I think we're a well-run organization with our CEO, Mike Vrabel. So I think that we're a very well-run organization. We have Terrell Williams sitting around as assistant head coach. Like, there's a head coaching candidate right there. Like, that's a very good coach. We have head coaches as backups, as our offensive Doug Marrone still around. You know what I mean? Like, we have these coaches in our depths. Thomas Brown. I could keep going on with these guys that nobody will know unless you're a Patriots fan, right? But, like, we have lots of good coaches on this team, and we're always prepared. And we make the right decision on challenges, reviews. We use the booth well. We're just a very well prepared team.
I like that. That's a really good answer. I don't think anybody. I don't know if anybody has said that besides maybe my Kansas City Chiefs fan.
I was going to say the Rams, maybe. I'd say the McVay team.
I think I might have gotten a similar answer. Yeah. I think those are the only two
Chiefs
that I can kind of.
Chiefs.
And I feel like the Eagles. I feel like he might have said something just about like Howie Roseman and like kind of how he manages just the team and how it feeds into the team.
For sure.
We like Howie.
So,
too.
anyways,
yeah.
He'll
take a second round pick if we ask nicely.
Yeah, shout out Howie.
I love that. I just want to say, if all of this happens, I will make sure to clip that piece specifically and have that be one of the clips that I put on social, because back to where he just said, like, we're at, assuming the Philadelphia to New England flight is working, like, we need all of that. So just know, when, if, whatever it happens, that is going to be one of the clips I use to promote this episode. So just letting you all know right now. So, Divish, what do you think? What do you think it makes you all, like, you do better than most teams in the NFL?
I mean, the caveat there being most teams in the NFL, it starts with quarterback play. And I think that is one thing that
do y'all think he's top 10?
I think he's top 6, and I'm pretty comfortable with saying that. Yeah. I think there's a case to be made top 5. I just still don't like counting Joe Burrow out. That's the only reason I put Drake May at 6. But I think there's a discussion there to be had as well.
You wouldn't have any argument from me.
Yeah. I still think like the Josh, Mahomes, and Lamar tier, I still value that tier a lot more purely because of what those guys have proven. But I think I still put him in the same tier as Stafford and Burrow. He's just like, I would probably say in the back end of that tier for me. But yeah, that's how I would tier the NFL quarterback.
So are you saying Allen and Mahomes are in their 1, 2, whatever they
and
do.
Lamar?
And
I would still put Lamar in that tier.
Lamar. And then you're saying after them is Stafford, May.
Stafford, Burrow, and May. Yeah, I think those would be in that. Like, so they would the Mahomes, Josh, and Lamar tier would be the S tier. I think Drake is an A tier quarterback for me. And I think it's just like so much of it came down to like the playmaking aspect of everything, that so many of his, if you watch his highlight reel, obviously there's that, like, like rolling out to the right sideline throw to Stephon Diggs and at night game in Buffalo that was trending. But the thing was, so many of his highlight reel plays were in structure when the structure broke down, but he stayed in structure, found a way to maneuver through it, and made a play. And I think those are the qualities that just that is the thing where, like, I think that is so much more valuable than any other quarterback trait for me. And I think it is that when it comes to, like, I hate to say this, but, like, there's a point where the quarterback becomes the structure. Like, those are what those 3 S-tier quarterbacks are.
Yep.
And he is on that trajectory. So I think that is, and he did that in his age 23 season. It was unreal to watch last year. So you only hope that only expect he's going to get better. So it starts with quarterback play. I think from a coaching standpoint, I think the first thing I want to go with is like game planning. I think game planning is one thing that the Patriots do a lot better than anything.
I would agree with that.
Because the one thing with that is that last year was not the most talented roster they could have had, right? You had Elijah Ponder, who was an undrafted free agent rookie, get 2.5 sacks in the playoffs because he was deployed at the right team at the right time. Another great thing was Mike Vrabel knew that Chargers don't have like a true 2-minute drill. They kind of run this like pseudo 4-minute drill even late in the fourth quarter. And as soon as the Chargers substitute, Mike Vrabel never substituted one guy off the defensive line. He had 4-man rotation substitutions prepared for that defensive line. So substituting 4 guys takes a lot more time. Chargers just snapping the ball with like 6 seconds on the clock, 4 seconds.
And he had those guys lollygagging on and on.
Oh, yeah. So there's those things that, yeah. And I think those things that there's that game planning and preparation aspect of it, because we know that like Vrabel is not going to, use a lot of disguise in the secondary. He's not going to design a lot of exotic pressures on the front end, but he's going to have his guys get prepared and he's going to call the right, or from top to bottom, every coach, from an assistant coach to the guy making the play call, are going to be aligned on whatever the play call is. And I think that is what we do better than most teams.
Okay. And I have to be honest here because I'm not a Drake May guy. And I know if I don't say this, people are going to be like, you said. I thought he had a great regular season. I thought in the playoffs he was not good at all. So he was almost like not helping the team, but he didn't, whatever. There's a couple of reasons why the Super Bowl didn't go the way that it needed to. I don't think he helped his case, but you could also say the whole offense really didn't help him either. So I just wanted to verbally say that out loud because I hate those people that like say one thing and then somebody gets in front of them and they're like, I'm not going to say the thing that I said months ago. I'm like, nope, I'm not going to be that person. But if you all are right, and he's on the right trajectory, because you would know way more than I would. I'm sure you watch him way more than I ever could think of. So I think it's going to be interesting to see him this year. So, and I'll take your word for it. Like if a better Drake May is naturally just going to make that team better, like just naturally. So, anyways, I just need to say that because I'm an honest person. So I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't that person. Okay, so this is the fun round. You can answer this question fast or you can give me an explanation if you want to. Pretty sure what you're going to say for the first couple of questions, but here we go. So your quarterback confidence on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being get this guy out of here immediately, 5 being I want him to stay as long as he wants to stay. What would you say, Pete, for Drake May?
4.5. The half-point reservation is the big game jitters that we just alluded to. Not a good playoffs, and we've seen it in big games. Just in general, kind of comes out even in regular games. It kind of comes out, airmails a couple to start the game. Might look like he needs to calm down a little bit more to start the game. That's what I want to see in year 3. If he comes out and is just nails in big game and plays like he did last year, this guy's getting a 5 for me the next time you ask.
Agreed. Fair.
I could say 10 for this answer. He's to me, he's like I don't think I could be more confident in my quarterback. I'm just gonna quote Reese Davis. It's just like I'm done with the Drake May blasphemy. This was the story of the 2024 draft. I went in with this mindset: whoever was gonna get Drake May was gonna win that draft. I think the Patriots won that draft. I think Drake May is the future face of this league, and I think he's gonna be in the MVP conversation as long as he's healthy.
Okay, cool. Quarterback trust level, coaching staff trust level from 1 to 5. Divish, you take this one first.
I would go 4 here, primarily because of the defensive coordinator situation. So last year we did not have a true defensive coordinator because Terrell Williams obviously had a very unfortunate battle with cancer, which he great news that he succeeded that, came out of it on the right side, and now he's back with the team as an assistant head coach and defensive line assist, or like just like he's just defensive line is what he does. He's going to do a great job doing that. But there's still, you have a first-year defensive coordinator in Zach Kerr. We know that Mike Vrabel has been great at, these singular game plans, which is what alluded to a lot of the success of the defense in the playoffs. But, that consistent schematic organization against, these high-powered offenses that we're going to face this year. How much of that is going to translate when you have to make those game plans like 18 times as opposed to 4 times, right? Yeah. So I think that is just something that I would be concerned about. I think we talked enough about the Mike Vrabel situation. Obviously, there's stuff there, but I think from a football standpoint, I have no doubts in his ability as a game planner or as an organizational leader. The flip side of that is where my confidence has increased from last year. I was happy with the Josh McDaniels hiring, but I was like, we know he's at worst case, he's going to be a 3-pitch pitcher and he's going to go pitch those 3 pitches well. But he still, like, he looked like there were essence of it, like, you know, like to make another baseball reference. You were just like, is 2018 DeGrom still in there? Like, can that happen here a little bit? And towards like, you know, like I think that Baltimore game in week 15 in Baltimore on Sunday Night Football was one of the prime examples for that there were like such bad play from the offensive line in that game. And it was literally just Drake May and Josh McDaniels carrying us to victory. So I think that is, I mean, I have increased confidence levels in Josh McDaniels this year compared to last season.
What do you think, Pete? What number would you get between 1 and 5? Coaching staff, trust level?
4, a full point deduction for your off-field antics, Mike Vrabel. I cannot, like, what are we doing here?
Fair.
What more could come? What more could come out? Like, people keep saying, wait to see what more comes out. Like, I kind of am a little like, is there more coming out? Like, do I have to not trust, you know, my coach here? Is there going to be an issue going on? I don't share Zach Kerr point deduction that Divish gave to the defense. The reason is I don't think it's his first year being the defensive coordinator. I think of it as his second year being the defensive coordinator and actually look at it as continuity for the defense with just a sprinkle of a bonus of Terrell Williams being back. So I look at it as an improvement on the defensive side coaching. And then Josh McDaniels had my confidence, but with the same questions that Divish had, like, can he do it again? Prove to us, yes, he can do it again. His bag is very big still, and he can dip into it at any point. And he proved that. So just more confidence on the offense, more confidence on the defense, and then what the heck to my head coach. But from like a football perspective, very confident in him, but he needs a point deduction.
Yeah, he does. So I'll give you that. So who do you think is going to carry this team this year? Offense or defense, Pete?
I spoke about it earlier. It can't be one side carries the other. If I'm answering this question, I'm like almost admitting that this team is getting carried by a side of the football, right? And I don't want a side of the football to carry the team. That's fair. But I'll answer your question because I'm a good guest. It's the offense. The offense should carry the defense if it's going to be one of the two that are carrying each other. We saw the opposite of that in the playoffs, right? Like, so if you were just a national football fan and you just tuned into the playoffs and that's your scope of the Patriots from last year, you're like, this guy's an idiot. The offense looked awful and the defense was brilliant. This guy has no sense about him, but that's just not the total picture. That's not the overall package of what we're working with here. The offense should be good. I would trust us more in a shootout than a defensive square off with another team. Like if they had a top defense and we had a top defense, I'm like, like the Seahawks, like, week 1, I'm a little nervous because I think defenses come out more prepared than offenses do, and they have a superior defense to us. So like, but when it comes to offense, I think our offense smokes most offenses. We were like second in the NFL by all metrics, you know, if not first by most metrics as far as offense goes. And I expect us to at least be in the top 5, top 10 in those metrics again. Are we going to be 1 and 2? No, we don't have a cupcake schedule this year, right? So it's not going to look like last year. But I think if I was to pick, I'd pick the offense.
Okay. Love it. What do you got for me? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I approached it a similar way. Like, we obviously don't want, like, we want a, you know, very successful team, so we cannot have either side carrying it. So I approached it more so as which unit is more likely to be a top 5 unit at the end of the season. And I'm going with the offense as well. I think this offense, as good as it was last year and as easy as the schedule was last year, left a lot on the table still. They left a lot of meat on the bone. And I think a lot of that goes away or comes to fruition, I should say, with the offseason additions and then the correct steps we expect forward from our young players. So I think I'm going to go with the offense.
Okay. If you could trade drafts with any other team, so that team gets all of your players and then you get all of their players, who would you trade drafts with, Divish? Or if you would trade drafts, who would you trade drafts with?
I mean, this is like, I never thought in a million years I was going to say this ever.
Are you doing it?
It comes to the nature of, you know, like, because the NFL draft is kind of a crapshoot. You're just taking shots at cardboard. So the amount of picks that you have and amount of high picks that you have generally yields to a higher success rate.
I
would happily swap drafts with Cleveland Browns, man.
That's my pick too.
Crushed it.
Okay.
They Cleveland? Crushed it. It's like
that's if we don't have AJ Brown. I wouldn't do that though without AJ Brown. If we have AJ Brown, that makes no sense.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but still, it's still like just the amount of good players they got, man. Like you got Denzel Boston in the second round. They get Casey Concepcion from just like falling to their lap. They trade back and still get the top tackle on the board in Spencer Fano. It's like who would have thought like Andrew Berry was going to be the best GM coming out of the draft. He had a very good draft. I think the Browns is like the only other team that I was considering because of the pass rush stuff was the New York Giants because they got Arvell Reese super hot while still, being able to get an offensive tackle at 10 in Francis Mauigoa. So I was considering the Giants, but it's got to be the Cleveland Browns. They just had such a good draft.
Pete, you said you agree?
It's the Browns, but that's only if we don't get AJ Brown. If we had AJ Brown on the team, I changed my answer to the Cowboys. That's who I would go with.
More defense.
I mean, they went safety first, Caleb Downs, right? Like adding a third safety is something Division I have been kind of pounding the table for. Go big nickel, get a third safety. So that would have fit what we wanted. Then they went edge. And what did I say? The front seven needs help. So edge, certainly it tackles that position. Then they go tackle. Well, we need a tackle. Then you go corner. We need depth at corner. They triple dip at edge. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly what we need. And then they sprinkle in a wide receiver to end. We always need to take a shot at wide receiver. So it would have been a Patriots-esque draft if that's what we did. They had the 11th pick and the 23rd pick. Those are both ahead of 28. So you're just going to have a better outcome if you're picking there than here. So that's that's my with AJ Brown answer. But the Browns is a layup if you don't have it.
I like layups. So, if you all, I'm actually interested about this one. If you all had a, this always happens to us moment, here we go again, freaking the Patriots. Every week I get so excited. And then of course we're going to do this thing. What would that thing be for you all as a Patriots fan? What always happens where you're like, this always happens to us? It doesn't matter. This happens to us. What you got for me, Pete?
It's got to be the Vrabel thing. We make it to the Super Bowl. So that would be my first answer, making it to the Super Bowl. That's stuff that, of course this happens to the Patriots, right? That would be the easy answer. But the second answer would be, of course, some sort of controversy or some sort of kind of what Patriots fans view as bull crap, but the rest of the league was like, oh yeah, let's focus on this real hard. But we just don't care. With the Deflategate, you guys cared way more than us. With Spygate,
that's interesting.
Way more than us. With Mike Vrabel, you guys just cared way more than us. We just didn't care. We were more annoyed by y'all that you talked about it for that long, and that's kind of where we're getting here with this. So it's very Patriots-esque to kind of just be annoyed at the off-field stuff and want to talk about the thinness of the linebacker room, but nobody wants to talk to you about it because they just want to ask you about Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini, and you just don't want to talk to them back about it. This always happens. Of course, we can't talk ball.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah. Divish, what do you think? What's one that that's a really good one, actually, going through the history.
I think that is probably I cannot top that with my answer.
That's pretty good.
I think I'm going to go with this more so late, mid 2010s on Patriots. It's just this fear in my head that Paul Campbell does not take a step forward. Caleb Lowe is just not good at football. And the story continues that the Patriots the team that spent the first round pick on Isaiah Wynn, the team who had tackles on the board and drafted a guard out of Chattanooga State in the first round. This is going to keep happening. And it's just this team cannot build a functional offensive line since essentially I'm going to be honest. We took a shot in the dark with Shaq Mason and it worked out. And we took a shot in the dark with Joe Thuney and it worked out. That's how we had the good offensive line later on. We never really truly had a good process at offensive line, even mid to late 2010s. That is my biggest fear.
That might be the thing.
On top of that, if Elijah Vera Tucker, obviously great player, but has an injury history. That is my biggest concern and it will be, this is the Patriots all over again, that you had everything in place and you could not put an offensive line together. Okay. I think that would probably be my biggest concern.
Those are two really good answers. I love it. I love it. So, okay, final question. If you could talk to, let's just open it up. If you could talk to anyone in the NFL or anyone on your team, so whether it be the coach, the owner, a player, who would you send a message to? I didn't prepare you to open it wide up to anybody in the organization, but if you could send a message to anyone in that organization division, I'm kind of stalling a little bit here because I'm just talking so that you have some time to think. If you could talk to anybody in that organization, you could send them a message, you could send them an email, you could send them a text, whatever it is. What would you say to them and who would you send it to?
I would probably, there's a couple of answers in my mind. I think we've touched on the Mike Vrabel stuff enough, so I'm not going to go there. My first message will just be like kind of a two-part message, same message to two different people. Robert Kraft and Christian Gonzalez. Robert Kraft, the message would just be, you do not land all pro corners. Like every all pro corner you look around the league, the team, it's a homegrown draft. You don't get all pro corners in free agency. Go pay this guy. He is like, I still think he's the second best corner in the league. I still don't think, like, still great Patrick Surtain higher than him. And I think Surtain is just in a tier of his own. But he is in that same tier to me as Derek Stingley. He is in that same tier to me as Sauce Gardner. You either go out and give 2 first-round picks like the Colts gave up for Sauce Gardner, or you draft Derek Stingley incredibly highly and then pay him. Pay the guy. He is worth every penny. And it's one of those position groups they just don't hit free agency. Yeah. And then the flip side of that, Christian Gonzalez, is there's just no other organization in the NFL like the Patriots. They're going to make you the highest paid corner in the NFL. If that's what you're looking for, I think they will do it. I will send another text to Kraft and be like, dude, do it. And I'm like, if you're getting a market resetting contract, just sign it, dude. Like this is truly like, it is a one-on-one organization. Like there's, I hate to use myself as an example, but like literally there's like kids growing up like 10,000 miles away from Foxboro, and the only reason they love football is the Patriots. Just there's no other organization in the world, like at least in American sports, that has that impact. Just sign the deal, man.
Sign it. Just sign it.
So that would be my split message to. Okay. Yeah.
All right. What you got for us, Pete?
Yeah, it's very similar. It's message to Mike Vrabel, to Robert Kraft, CC Elliott Wolf, pay Christian Gonzalez this year, and then Drake May next year. Christian Gonzalez needs to be extended this year. And the reason being this year is because next year is Drake May's year. It's after year 3 for a quarterback. It's his time to get extended. If you look at the track record of when quarterbacks are due their extension, it's after year 3. So it would be disrespectful, in my opinion, to not do it. Patriots don't have a track record of early extensions, Gronk being the last one. So you kind of have to go all the way back there to get an early extension. So would they do it here? They should do it here, and they'd be wrong not to do it here. And you have to do Gonzo this year because you're not going to extend Gonzo and May in the same offseason and be able to have a good offseason. So that's really why Robert Kraft's on this email chain, because like you have to think about how you're going to dole your real dollars out. Like forget about the cap for a minute, like your real money that you actually have in your pocket. You have to dole a lot of that out if you're doing that, put a lot in escrow for all the guaranteed money that you would have to do. So because like if you think about the amount of guaranteed money, that has to go in escrow. It's not like so he has to actually spend that money right then and there, Robert Kraft.
Sure. So and especially like with the cap stuff, a lot of them, like teams, when they do these multi-year extensions, they're like, let's pay the guy a lot of money right now, so the cap sheet stays healthy for the next 3 to 4 years by converting that money into a signing bonus. Robert Kraft, do you want to pay like $50 million in signing bonuses next year? Probably not. Split that like 20 and 30 over 2 years. So that's also call. Something. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that was all I had for you all. So I will just say thank you for coming and chatting with me, responding to my email. You didn't know me from anyone. So I just appreciate the engagement, you all being here, being willing to talk to me. And I appreciate that we could talk about Vrabel enough to just let it go and let it die, because I feel like so many times it's over talked about. It's over everything. It is what it is at this point. So we'll do it. It's going to be what it's going to be also. So I just appreciate that as well. And then, like I said at the beginning of this, all of your information for both of you together or independently or whatever you want me to put will be in the description box. So if anybody is interested in finding you, how do they find you, all those things, I will make sure that I provide that so that it's very easy for everyone. And then other than that, you all will close this out. So whatever you want to say, whoever wants to go first, second, it doesn't matter to me. And then whenever you're done, I will just hit the end button.
Go ahead, Divish.
So, to close out, right, Jen? So, to kind of give you some context, we do closing thoughts in our thing, and my closing thoughts are just generally about Georgia Tech. So I'm not gonna do that.
Nice.
No, Georgia Tech update.
No, you need to do it because just so you know, like for context, I watch Colorado. I support Colorado. I support Coach Prime. Colorado plays Georgia Tech first game of the college football season. I have a ton of college football people.
Yep.
Yes, I have a ton of college football people that watch. So you are right on cue. So you talk about Georgia Tech. Go for it.
All right, perfect. So I'm just gonna use this Patriots fandom or claim other Patriots fans to be like, you like Mike Vrabel, you will love Bredke. Hop on the Georgia Tech football bandwagon. I think this is one team that is going super underrated right now. I don't think that's excessive last year when I don't think they're going to start 8-0. Let's just put it simply. That's not going to happen. But from when it comes to ACC recruiting and how, just recruiting is tiered down in college football, where there's this 2-tier recruiting with just for the Big Ten and the SEC. And there's this 4-tier recruiting for other power level schools and then recruiting for everyone else. I think Georgia Tech is really, really recruiting at a very high level, both in the portal and within their tier. Getting Justice Haynes out of Michigan. He's one of the best running backs in college football behind a very, very revamped offensive line, very fun offensive line, and an offensive line coach at head coach right now. It's going to be a very fun team to watch this season. Raiders fans, you also hop on the bandwagon. Fernando's little brother's our quarterback. Alberto Mateos is playing quarterback for us. So Raiders fans, come on in too, even though we'll probably be you week 5. But hop on the Georgia Tech bandwagon. I think this is just, I'm never going to say that this is going to be like a national championship contender. I don't think that is currently in the cards with how NIL is structured. But this team will be in contention for the ACC as long as Brent Key is the head coach and the current system's in place.
Shout out to him and thank you for the Georgia Tech update. And you know what? Before the season starts, I might reach out again. Because now I need some Georgia Tech information. I appreciate that. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I live in Denver. I was at the CU Georgia Tech game last year in Boulder. I'm in Atlanta literally the weekend before for my sister-in-law's wedding.
That's awesome.
So I was hoping I could extend the stay, but just could not this time. So, but I think I'll probably be in campus for like a late season game, like probably against Wake Forest or something.
Okay, noted. I love it. What you got for us, Pete?
I'll give you a little cool schedule tidbit since the schedule's been on my mind lately for the New England Patriots. The Patriots open up on a Wednesday night. We have 2 Thursday night games. We obviously play on Sunday. Everyone does. We have a Monday night game. So you're hitting all the days of the week besides Saturday, because as you know, at the end of the season, Saturday and in week 17 and 18, we have 2 TBDs. So the Patriots have a chance to do a kind of unique thing and play on Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, all in the same season, which would hit, I think, the football schedule cycle is what you would call that. So I'm looking forward to hopefully that 17 or 18 being flexed. And we were talking about it on the pod last week, Divish. That week 17 game against Denver has a real chance to be that Saturday primetime game.
100%.
So I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say the Patriots play on every eligible calendar day of the week in 2026.
Yeah. Also, that led to this dumbest, my most hated NFL stat. Because you guys remember that COVID season when that Tennessee Steelers game got pushed from a Sunday to a Tuesday because a lot of people tested positive. And that was the only Tuesday game the NFL's ever had, which is why now it's just this team that the only teams that have played on all 7 calendar days are the Tennessee Titans and Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm like, of all teams, those 2 Steelers, maybe, but the Titans.
I love it. Well, thank you both. I appreciate the good nuggets and the good facts. And hey, we'll have to do this again sometime soon. Who knows? We'll figure it out. It's a small world. We'll figure it out. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.